This video is for lesson 9-2. It's the day 2 solutions. The directions are to solve the systems using substitution method. So to use this method, it's necessary to run through a couple steps, and you need to show your work so that I can see that you're using this method and not one of the other methods. Now it's a 3-step process, although often step 1 has already been done. Step 1, solve the easiest equation for one of its variables. Step 2, you're going to substitute something. And step 3, you're going to also substitute something. That's why it's called substitution method. So problem 3, here's a system with two equations. Notice that the first equation already has been solved for A. So you don't need to do step 1. So we're going to jump in with step 2. Step 2 is to take the expression that the variable a is equal to and substitute it in place of the letter a in the second equation. Now write down what is created when you replace the letter a with 3b. It makes 3b minus b is equal to 12. Now solve this. This is 2b is equal to 12, so b is equal to 6. That was step 2. Now, step 3 is also substitution. You take the value that you just figured out for the letter b and substitute it into the first equation where the letter b is. Write down what you get. A equals 3, and then where the letter B was, fill in 6. And so A is equal to 18. So this step that I did here with this big looping arrow, this is the step 3. I now know the answer as an ordered pair. Now you always use alphabetical order, so the answer is 18, 6, because A comes before B alphabetically. Now number 5, step 1, has either of the equations already been solved for one of its variables? Yes, the first equation already has the letter s alone, so you don't need to do step 1. Step 2, take the expression that the letter s is equal to and substitute it in place of the letter s in the second equation. Write down what's created. 2t plus, now what are you going to fill in for s? T plus 2. And that's equal to 17. And solve this. 2t plus t is 3t. Subtract 2 from both sides, creating 15. Therefore, t is equal to 5. Now step 3. Step 3 is another substituting step. You take the value that you just figured out for t and substitute it into that first equation where the letter t is. This substitution step is our step 3. S equals, now what are we going to fill in for that t? What did we just figure out that t was equal to? You fill in 5. And then there's a plus 2. And so s is equal to 7. I know both variables, so I write an ordered pair, alphabetical order. S and then t. Now number 11. Has either equation already been solved for one of its variables? No. So we have to do step 1. Step 1 is to solve the easiest equation for one of its letters. Now, in your opinion, which equation will be the easiest to get one of its letters alone? I think it's the first equation. I think the easiest letter to get alone will be to get the letter B alone, because it has no coefficient in front of it. So our first step will be to transform that first equation. Get the letter B alone. There's different ways you could accomplish it. I'm going to add the b to the right side, getting it alone, and subtract the 17 to the left side so that the 17 is subtracted from the 2a. Now the letter b is alone. Now step 2. Take that expression and substitute it in place of the letter b in the second equation. And write down what's created. 3a plus 4, and then in parentheses, substitute 2a minus 17. And that's equal to negative 13. And now solve this. A little bit of distributive property. This is 3a plus 8a minus, what is 17 times 4? That is 68, and that's equal to negative 13. Now combining like terms, 11a. Now add the 68 to move it to the other side where the negative 13 is. Negative 13 add 68 is 55. And so a is equal to 5. Now comes step 3. Take the number you just figured out for a and substitute it into the equation that had the letter b alone. We have b equals 2 parentheses, fill in 5 for a, and then there's the minus 17. b is equal to 10 minus 17, so b is equal to negative 7. The answer in alphabetical order is 5, comma, negative 7. Number 13. Has either equation already been solved for one of its variables? No. Which variable will be the easiest to get alone? I think it will be the letter r in the second equation because it has no coefficient in front of it. All we need to do to get the letter r alone is subtract 5 from both sides. It will be r equals 6s minus 5. That's the step 1. Now, step 2. Take that expression that you just figured out that the letter r is equal to and substitute it. Where do you need to substitute it? Into the other equation, the one you haven't yet used, in place of r. And write down what's created. 2 parentheses, 6s minus 5, and then plus 3s is equal to 0. Now solve this. A little bit of distributive property. 12s minus 10 plus 3s equals 0. Now combining like terms. 12s plus 3s is 15s. And add the 10 to move it over to the right side. Now divide by 15. This is 10 divided by 15, which reduces to 2/3. We have the answer for the letter S, but not yet the answer for the letter R. So take the value 2/3 and substitute it into the other equation, the one that has the letter R alone. That's your step 3. R equals 6 times 2/3 minus 5. 6 times 2 is 12/3, which is the same as 4. So R is equal to -1. In alphabetical order, the letter R comes before the letter S. Number 15. Has either equation already been solved for one of its letters? Yes, in the second equation, the letter A is already alone, so we don't need to do step 1. So we're ready for step 2. Take the expression that the letter A is equal to and substitute it. Where are you going to put it? You substitute into the other equation, the one you haven't yet used. That's step 2. 2 parentheses. Now fill the letter A in with 3/5 B. And solve this. 2 times 3 is 6/5 B. Take away B is equal to 1. This is like having 6/5 B take away 5/5 B is equal to 1. Can you subtract them now that I have common denominators? This is 1/5 B is equal to 1. Multiply both sides by 5, and you get B is equal to 5. Take the answer for B and substitute it. Where do you put it? You put it into the other equation, the one that we weren't just using. So into this equation, and this will be step 3. A is equal to 3/5 times, now what number were we replacing B with? 5. And so A is equal to 3. The ordered pair is 3, 5. Number 17. Has either equation already been solved for a variable? No. So we need to do step 1. Now, in your opinion, what is the easiest equation to solve for a letter? And this is debatable because the first equation could be solved for the letter C. All you have to do is add the D over to the right. But the second equation could also be solved for the letter C. All that is needed is to multiply by 5. So both of those things only take one step. So it's really not going to matter. They both are equally easy. I'm going to take the first equation and get the letter C alone by adding the D to the right side. It'll make D plus 8. Then take that expression, D plus 8, and substitute it for the letter C in the second equation. So where the letter C is, put in D plus 8. And then there was a fraction bar of 5 underneath. And then there was equals and D plus 4. Now solve this. Multiply everything by 5. On the left side of the equals, the denominator cancels away, and you're left with D plus 8. That's the reason for multiplying by 5. On the right side, we get 5D plus 20. Now, subtract D from both sides. That makes 4D plus 20. Now, subtract 20 from both sides. This makes negative 12 is equal to 4D. And now divide by 4. D is equal to negative 3. Now take the answer, negative 3, and substitute. Where should you put it? Well, we were just working with the second equation, so we're going to substitute into the first equation, right there. And this will be step 3. C is equal to negative 3 plus 8. So C is equal to 5. Our ordered pair in alphabetical order is 5, negative 3. Next, number 19. Neither equation has been solved for your variable, so pick whichever one you think is the easiest and solve it for one of its letters. I think the first equation would be pretty easy to solve for V. All we have to do is move the 2U to the other side. So step 1, let's solve for v. We'll have 9 subtract 2u. Now step 2, take that expression that we just created and substitute it where the letter v is in the second equation. We'll have u over 2 minus 1 over 2 is equal to negative. Now what are we supposed to fill in for v? 9 minus 2u. Now we want to solve this. Okay. First thing I'm going to do is just keep the left side the same. And on the right side, I will apply the negative to the two things in parentheses. The opposite of this subtraction is to change the direction of the subtraction. That was something that we studied much earlier in the school year. The next thing I'm going to do is, because there is a denominator, I'll multiply everything by the least common denominator. On the left side, I get the u alone and the 1 alone. That's why multiplying by 2 is a good idea. On the right side, when you multiply by 2, it makes 4u minus 18. Now subtract u from both sides. Now it's 3u minus 18. Now add 18 to both sides. 17 equals 3u. And now divide by 3. 17 thirds. Now take the answer for u and substitute it in place of the letter u. Here will be step 3. V equals 9 minus 2, and then in parentheses, fill in the 17 thirds. This is 9 minus 34 thirds. Now let's get common denominators so that you can see the subtraction. The number 9 is the same thing as 27 thirds. Does that make it easier now to visualize the subtraction? This is negative 7 thirds. In alphabetical order, u comes before v, so 17 thirds, comma, negative 7 thirds. Now, a problem like this that took so many steps and results in fractions means there were chances for us to make mistakes. So it's a problem like this that it's a good idea to check your answer. You can algebraically check your answer by taking the two numbers and substituting them into these equations. The other thing you can do to check your answer is use the graphing calculator. So even though we're doing substitution method, that doesn't mean we still can't use graphing method as our backup. Use like the decimals calculator and see if the two lines cross at that ordered pair. Now number 21, neither equation has been solved for one of its variables. So just make a decision. What do you think will be the easiest letter to get alone? And that's probably debatable. I'm going to take the first equation and get one of its letters alone. The first thing I'm going to do is multiply everything by 2. The letter y will be alone, the letter x will now be alone, and the 7 will turn into 14. And then I can subtract x from both sides and get y equals 14 take away x. Now step 2. Take the 14 take away x and substitute it in place of the letter y in the second equation. 3 parentheses, 14 minus x, and then plus 2x is equal to 48. And solve this. 3 times 14 is 42, and then minus 3x. That step that I just did there, that's called the distributive property. Now combine like terms. We get minus 1x, or just minus x. Next step, I'm going to subtract 42 from both sides, making 6. And then change the sign of both sides, getting negative 6. X is negative 6. So I can take that negative 6 and substitute it right there. Y equals 14 minus, what was the number that we were going to put in for the x? Negative 6. So this is y equals 14 plus 6, which makes 20. Our ordered pair is negative 6, comma 20. Again, this seemed a little harder than some of the other ones, so this would be a good idea to check the answer. Take the negative 6, put it in for x, put the 20 in for y into those equations, and see if working them out actually makes a 7 and a 48. Or the other thing you can do is you can use a graphing calculator to check your answer. All right, number 23. Neither equation has been solved for one of its letters. So just make a decision. Which letter do you think is going to be the easiest one to get alone? It might take a couple steps of work, but we need to get it alone. I'm choosing to work with the first equation. I notice those fractions. To remove denominators, you multiply by the LCD. Well, what's the LCD if one denominator is 2 and the other is a 3? That's a 6. I want to multiply everything by 6 because that will cancel those denominators. We get 3r plus 2s is equal to 6. Next, I'm going to subtract the 3r from both sides. 6 take away 3r. Next, I'll divide both sides by 2, getting 3 minus 3 halves r. This is the expression to fill in for the letter S. All right, when we replace the letter S with that binomial, our second equation turns into r over 4 plus 2 parentheses 3 minus 3 halves r over 3 is equal to negative 1. Now let's do some work on this. First of all, notice that there is a denominator 4 and a denominator 3. What's the LCD when you have a 4 and a 3? That's 12. I think if I multiply everything by 12, that will help me to get to the answer. So that will make 3r plus 8 parentheses 3 minus 3 halves r equals negative 12. Now what do? How about some distributive property? Here and here. This makes 3r plus 24 minus 8 times 3 is 24. 24 divided by 2 is 12r. And that equals negative 12. Now some combining like terms. Negative 9r. And I'll subtract 24 from both sides. Negative 36. So r is equal to 4. Take that value for r and substitute it right there. S equals 3 minus 3 halves, and in parentheses, fill in the 4. So this is S equals 3 minus, what's 3 halves times 4? Well, 3 times 4 is 12, and 12 over 2 is 6. So S is equal to -3. Now, alphabetical order, R is before S, so 4, comma, -3. Again, with a problem like this, I highly recommend that you check this answer. You can check it algebraically by substituting the 4 and the -3 into the original problem. So in the first equation, where the letter R is, put in the 4, and where the letter S is, put in the -3, put in equals with a question mark, and then the 1, and actually work this out. 4 divided by 2 is 2. -3 divided by 3 is -1. Is 2 plus -1 equal to 1? Yes, it is. And also check it into the second equation, because just because it works in the first equation, that doesn't guarantee it's going to work in the second equation. You need to try it. In place of letter R, put 4. And then 2 parentheses. In place of letter S, put in -3. In the bottom, there's a 3. Put equals and a question mark, and then -1. Now actually work this out. Don't just assume that it's yes. Actually work it out. 4 divided by 4 makes 1. And 2 times -3 is -6. -6 divided by 3 is -2. 1 plus -2 is -1. This is yes. So we had this really hard problem with fractions. This step here in the middle was confusing, perhaps. There was a lot going on there. And we got this answer at the end that we probably weren't very confident about. And so by doing the check, we now have proof that we did get the right answers. Remember, your other way that you can check is with the graphing calculator. This concludes the video.